don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives.
So we just got the release of Marvel's Black Widow, and it's been way too long overdue. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brandon, and this is Film Flair, where we discuss anything and everything that makes film and television great. So be sure to subscribe, and let's talk about a great film.
Before I was an Avenger, I made mistakes. And a lot of enemies.
Now, Black Widow follows Natasha Romanoff as she confronts the darker parts of her life before joining S.H.I.E.L.D. when a conspiracy from her past lands on her doorstep, forcing her to revisit a life and a family she thought she had left behind long before becoming an Avenger. I think we've all been waiting for this movie for a long time, not just the 2 years since the last MCU movie premiered on screen. I think we really should have gotten the Black Widow movie all the way back in Phase 2. In fact, this movie feels like it belongs in Phase 2, yet it's kicking off Phase 4 while taking place in Phase 3. And it shares a lot of similarities with Captain America: The Winter Soldier all the way back from Phase 2. They both have our characters on the run from the government as they chase down conspiracies of shadowy organizations they thought were destroyed years ago, the return of brainwashed acquaintances from their past, and they both even have final action pieces that involve flying bases crashing out of the sky. In another one of my previous videos, I said that The Winter Soldier was one of my favorite MCU movies because it focuses so much more on the person behind the hero. And this movie does a lot of the same. Yes, there is great action and cool set pieces, but this is mainly a story that focuses on Natasha confronting and fixing the mistakes of her past. It's a lot more of an internal struggle and personal story than most of the other MCU movies. But while the main crux of the story was Natasha coming to terms with the guilt she feels over the things she did in her attempts to become a good guy, most of that ends up coming to nothing as most of the people she thought she had killed years ago end up still being alive, and the program she thought she had ended was still alive and even stronger than before. All of that just undermines the emotional journey that she's supposed to be going through in this film. While most of my issues with this movie have to do with the writing, the acting was really good. Scarlett Johansson played the seasoned Avenger still dealing with the bloodier side of her ledger really well.
You both have killed so many people. Your ledgers must be dripping, just gushing red.
She has had the most time to develop her character without getting a solo story, and when she finally did, the way she portrayed the character was spot on. Her whole story in the MCU revolves around her trying to atone for her spy assassin past.
It's really not that complicated. I got red in my ledger. I'd like to wipe it out.
And all of that finally feels like it comes to a head in this one. But even more entertaining was Florence Pugh as her sister Yelena. This movie was just as much about her as it was about Natasha. While Natasha was atoning for a past she thought was behind her, Yelena was the complete opposite, trying to move forward from her present situation for the first time in her life.
I've never had control over my own life before, and now I do.
And maybe it's because she was a new kid that the audience knew nothing about, but to me, Yelena was more interesting than Natasha. But the two of them together were what really held this movie together and made it worth watching.
Why do you always do that thing?
Do what?
That thing you do when you're fighting. This thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting. Such a poser. Ugh, that was disgusting.
And compared to those two, all of the other characters in this one just felt half-baked. I was really looking forward to David Harbour as the Red Guardian, but outside of the opening sequence, he's really just there as nothing more than a walking punchline.
Good boy, Alexi. Good boy.
You named the pig after me?
You don't see the resemblance?
Taskmaster felt wholly inconsequential except for the identity reveal in the third act, and the real villain was even more of a complete letdown. Just another cowardly, egotistical man hiding in the shadows behind others.
Real power comes from undetectable influence.
You're nothing. You have nothing.
Now, I did enjoy this movie, although I was expecting more from it. It felt like this story was trying too hard to be a couple of different things. Whether it was with some of the jokes or in some of the more meaningful moments, it just all felt a bit too heavy-handed and a lot less natural than it could have been. And the movie switches from super serious to borderline slapstick comedy at the drop of a hat, leaving it without a consistent tone running throughout. It just couldn't commit to a side, so it ended up being exceptionally middle of the road. It is a solid movie that I do think is worth the watch, but it is a shame that this felt like more of a half-hearted afterthought rather than the proper send-off this character deserved. But what did you think about Marvel's Black Widow? Let me know in the comments below. It's available now in theaters and for streaming on Disney+. But before you go and watch that, please do be sure to give this a like and go ahead and subscribe for more reviews like this. We've got new content coming out every Tuesdays and Fridays. But until next time, have a great day and don't forget to watch a great movie. Bye.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.